Our story kicks off on a sunny day with a carriage riding through a narrow bush path. In the background, we hear the voices of two ladies chattering away. The lady in a blue gown warns the blondie, Alice Verdier, to avoid making a scene, but Alice complains about the dullness of the last soirée, mumbling about how helpless she felt. She admits that she lost track of how much she drank and hopes the coming soirée will be lively, especially with her sister, Chloe Verdier. Chloe, tired of her sister's whining, warns her once more to behave, and reminds her that the host of the ball is the great Duke Tisse. She also reminds Alice of her duty to find a potential suitor. But Alice cuts her off, saying she is well aware of her duty to get betrothed and save their family from drowning in debts, though a sad expression crosses her face. Still, Alice mourns her dream of finding her one true love, and Chloe sympathizes with her while mentioning the condition of her leg as she clutches her walking stick even tighter. Inside, Chloe blames herself for burdening her younger sister. Just then, Chloe wraps her in a warm bear hug and comforts her. Moving on, Alice points the finger at their father for spending his fortune on their mother's medical bills, leaving him to forsake his estate and daughters. She drags Chloe down memory lane to 3 years ago when he allowed the Duke's army to use their castle. As if that wasn't enough, she calls him a fool, spilling the beans about the ugly rumors surrounding Duke Tisse. Alice mocks the tales of his great victories and even mentions the rumor that he fathered several illegitimate children and secretly executed them. There is so much to digest. Oh well, she adds, not to mention his terrible temper and the fate of anyone who dares get on his bad side. However, Chloe reminds her how lucky they are to be invited to the event. Still, Alice insists that they keep their distance from him. She reminds her sister of the swirling rumors and prays to heaven that they never cross paths with him. In an instant, she recalls her duty to greet him since he is the host and sighs in surrender, while Chloe tries to summon her courage, silently reminding herself not to be afraid. Flashing back to 3 years ago, Viscount Verdier, lord of a small castle, gladly opened its gate for the imperial army as they retreated from battle. Some soldiers snicker at Chloe's condition, while another tells them to leave her alone. Meanwhile, as she tends to the injured, her father watches from a distance and sadly overhears a soldier's demeaning words about his daughter. Later that night, an errand boy delivers his lordship's message, leave the injured in the care of the servants. Chloe wonders if her father is worried about her, her mind drifting back to the wounded and the pain they must be enduring. Then, the sharp voice of a commander catches her attention. Sneaking a peek for a better view, the soldiers all greet their commander. He breaks the news of his father's execution and asks if they wish to return home. Many soldiers agree, offering various excuses. Chloe can hear the anguish in their voices even from a distance. The commander reminds them of the duty to recover his father's body and prepare his funeral. He then declares that he will not give up, emphasizing his determination to lead the soldiers to victory in honor of the House of This's pride and dignity, as declared by Duke Damien Tisse. Furthermore, he calls on them to channel their desperation into action, doing everything he can to lift their fighting spirit as they all hail him. Chloe watches in awe, her heart racing with excitement as she wonders how he managed to boost their spirits in seconds. Lost in thought about his greatness, she is startled when she notices a figure staring at him. Their eyes meet, and you would not believe what happens next. In a flash, Chloe hides, as if a force is pulling her into the shadows, still in shock from the collision of their eyes as she peeks back at him. Nevertheless, he returns to commanding his soldiers while she takes a long, knowing breath, feeling her own courage fall short. Right away, she mouths a short prayer for the safe return of the soldiers to their loved ones and for victory in the battle. The following morning, Chloe peeks out her room door and sees an empty hallway. She decides to hurry out and get back before everyone wakes up, but the shock of hearing her name unexpectedly makes her trip. Before she can kiss the floor, Gillies steadies her, and she thanks him for saving her. Still, he is suspicious of her sudden movement and asks where she is headed, reminding her of her father's warnings. With a clear conscience, she tells him she is off to collect medical herbs from the forest. When he offers to go instead, she reminds him of the poisonous herbs he picked last time that gave her a scare. Not relenting, he points out the cold weather and mentions her father's concern, but she cuts him off, reminding him that she is a big girl who can take care of herself. They say their goodbyes, and she cannot help but remember little Gillies and admire how much he has grown. Fast forward a few moments later, our female lead is busy gathering herbs, even thinking of ways to be more useful. And you wouldn't believe what happens next. A rustling sound catches her attention, and she looks up with her eyes bulging in surprise. Duke Tisse stands in a clearing, lost in thought as her mind bombards her with questions. Finally, she decides to leave the forest as quickly as possible, but then he questions the identity of the person in the clearing. Shocked, the basket of herbs falls from her grip. He demands her name and strides toward her. Still in shock, she reveals her identity as the daughter of Viscount Verdier. As he inches closer, he hisses that he has noticed a pattern spying on people like a little rat. Immediately, she apologizes and swears on her innocence, but he blames her for the events of the past day, accusing her father of instructing her to seduce him. Hurt flashes in her eyes, but he continues his mumble-jumble, commending Viscount Verdier for his smartness. When she stands her ground, he reminds her of her behavior when treating his soldiers, an unbecoming act for a woman, let alone someone in her condition. Completely shocked, she wonders if this is the same man she had seen the day before. Brushing off her hurt, she explains the good she did by helping the injured who returned from battle and even spills the beans about her background, revealing that her mother raised them to aid people in need, as is expected of the nobility. Duke Tisse finds her rather amusing and points out her selfishness in doing things that are beyond her, which he says is a nuisance to others. He also draws her attention to the demeaning words that some soldiers said about her, questioning whether she will still hold her head high and maintain her dignity. He wonders if her father ever hears such insults and announces the fate that awaits any man who dares speak ill of his daughter, making her see how hard they can be. Duke Tisse does not stop there. He steps closer to her and inquires why she wanders in the forest so early when danger could be lurking around any corner. She shifts away as if he were poison, insisting that the land is safe and all is well. Then, an annoying smirk crosses his face. He questions whether she will continue her rants if he carries on with his actions, all while grabbing her walking stick. Before she can process what is happening, he pulls it from her grip, causing her to fall onto him in a reckless, uncontrolled manner. He reminds her that danger lurks in the forest and, with a swift motion, strikes a wild snake. He accuses her of being too reckless and hands back her damaged stick, remarking that it might at least carry her to the castle. She declines his offer, and the Duke suddenly notices her temper. Still, he offers to examine her leg, jokingly questioning if the condition is hereditary. Isn't he the jerk of all men? Chloe, fed up with his attitude, demands to know the reason for his rudeness. He fires back, accusing her of being too sensitive, as she misinterprets his question as an attack. Their back and forth continues as they discuss emotions and wars, but she warns him never to pry into her life. Then, he announces his clear intention of offering her advice, though it seems he has struck a nerve. At this point, she loathes him even more, internally slapping herself for ever having painted him as an angel when he is worse than the devil himself. A moment of silence lingers, but she breaks it by highlighting two things to let him know her feelings. He gives her a satisfied look that prompts her to complain about the damaged stick and announce her need for a replacement. He simply states his intention to make her wish come true, explaining that he plans to speak with the woodworker. Before he can continue, she cuts him off, declaring her wish for a walking stick made from the birch trees that grow on the Tisse estate. This leaves us wondering where Chloe Verdier has gotten her nerve from. He narrows his eyes, puzzled by her words, but Chloe presses on, reminding him of his own words about returning victorious from battle. He is hooked at this point as she voices her heartfelt wish that he make a stick when he returns from battle. He cuts her off by gently cradling her neck as he whispers an idea that promises something even better. When it seems Chloe has not endured enough humiliation on this cold morning, he brings up the possibility that her father might want something more. Annoyed, she pushes away from his grip and makes her second point, clarifying that her father's praise of her and her sister is simply an act of fatherly love and nothing more. She also reminds him of his great status and the fact that he and every other man would never want to be involved with someone as impaired as her. Nonetheless, he screams at her to stop the self-pity, but Chloe remains unwavering as she steps away, firmly stating her case. She warns him not to speak to her in that manner, or assume her life is a constant battle. Just as she goes to leave, he questions whether she can ever be happy the way she is, insisting that her life will never change. She then announces that she is content because she will forever live an unchanging life in her homeland, which is all she can ask for. With that, she departs. In the following scene, Chloe is lost in thought, trying to remember how she got back to the castle after her encounter with Duke Tisse. All she can recall is the way the cold air enveloped her, much like the snake from the forest. Moving forward, Gillies appears from nowhere to inform her that the visitors has exited the castle. She simply thanks him for the information, making a mental note of the next time she will step into the forest. Back in the present day, the ladies make their way to the castle, the rows of the house Tisse. Alice expresses her displeasure at learning that the castle is used solely for the Duke's entertainment and only once a year, which she whispers is ridiculously extravagant. She laments her tired bones when a young noble approaches them, expressing pleasure at seeing Alice again, and asking for a dance. She happily accepts and introduces Chloe. They exchange pleasantries and you wouldn't believe what happens next. Lord Cormier goes to ask her for a dance, but stops himself upon sighting her stick. She eases the awkwardness by complimenting the dancers and appreciating his thoughtful gesture. In the next scene, we catch a glimpse of Alice and Cormier dancing with reckless abandon, while Chloe admires them and hopes everyone has forgotten Alice's past actions at the last ball. She concludes that the fine noble will be great for her sister, since she has yet to hear any negative rumors about him, and his sincere looks only add to his charm. A little smile crosses her face as she thinks about expressing her gratitude to the Duke. However, she reminds herself to stay away from him as much as possible while pondering the true reason for his invitation. Desperately searching for an answer, she wonders if it was because of her father's help, but then quickly recalls the demeaning words he once said to her. Internally, she concludes that his personality hates kindness, and she hopes he has completely forgotten about her. As the event progresses with chattering and dancing, a familiar figure descends the mighty stairs, drawing the attention of everyone, including Chloe. But hold up, did the Duke just move toward Chloe's direction? Oh yes, he towers over her like the giant he is. Shocked, Chloe bows and voices her greetings. He replies and goes on to express his gratitude for the help her father rendered 3 years ago. We are surprised when he expresses his appreciation for her presence at his event, but what shocks us even more is the fact that he asks her for a dance like a true gentleman. And just as expected, the hall erupts with whispers and murmurs as everyone wonders what has possessed the Duke, and some even question if he is blind to see the walking stick. Clearly, our female lead is thrown into a state of discomfort as she declines the offer, using her condition as an excuse. Just as she guessed, he remains a playground bully, continuing to taunt her about her refusal to dance with him. However, a masculine voice belonging to Johannes, the first prince of the kingdom of Swanton, stops him from tormenting poor Chloe by pointing out that she is on the verge of tears. Additionally, Johannes stops Duke Tisse from harassing Chloe by joking that he seems to have forgotten his manners on the battlefield. But Duke Tisse remains stubborn and declares that Chloe is not the type to cry easily. Johannes lets out a long, exasperated sigh, apologizing on his cousin's behalf. Still, Chloe fires back with her smart mouth, commenting that Duke Tisse's concern is simply that she might end up a wallflower because of her condition. Respectfully, she tells Johannes to take back his apology, and he is shocked by her confidence, even asking for her name. Moving on, he quickly recognizes her family name and mentions that he met her father some time ago, while making certain advances on her. In an effort to keep things in order, Chloe bows before him, apologizing and explaining that she has come to the event with her sister alone. But then, it suddenly occurs to her that she has not seen Alice in minutes. Duke Tisse stares at her in annoyance as Johannes announces that he is waiting for an introduction to Alice. He leaves while still yelling about his cousin's expression. Meanwhile, Chloe appears off as she worries about her sister's whereabouts, hoping that Alice has not gotten into any more trouble. Sensing her uneasiness, Duke Tisse inquires about Alice and comes unnecessarily close to her. Trying to contain her irritation, she tells him that her sister might be in the big ballroom, and she excuses herself from his presence. But then, hearing her name on his lips freezes her as he reminds her of their agreement. As if that were not enough, he inches even closer, whispering in her ear about their secret arrangement regarding her cane. In return, Chloe stands her ground and demands that he either give her a new stick or let her go. Next, he sends chills down her spine by snatching the stick from her grip and declaring himself as the new stick. She is too shocked to speak as her thoughts race. Still, he goes on, pointing out her desperation to find her sister, and how she pays him no attention. Then, he offers his hand to guide her. The next scene shows the duo together, and we are shocked by the tender care he offers Chloe as they talk about learning to walk without aid. He even compliments her unwavering fighting spirit, yet she loathes herself for letting him take her stick. After a few minutes of silence, Duke Tisse comments on the weather and asks about the person who fixed her hair ornaments. The question takes her by surprise, but then she pulls herself together and claims responsibility. The arrogant Duke remarks on the mess she made, and she immediately demands her stick back, not wanting to stand him any longer. They continue their search until a guard informs them of a certain young lady running along the path in excitement. Chloe, knowing her sister well, silently prays for Alice's safety, hoping she has not caused any trouble. At that moment, the sound of pants and the moans of lovers catch their attention as they round a corner. Lo and behold, Alice and a strange gentleman are caught in a private romance, and both appear startled. Chloe, on the other hand, cannot unsee what she has just witnessed. Her little sister warns her love interest to run along, or he will be in danger, but he does not seem to read the room. "Please, Eddie," she begs, and he finally takes the hint. Nevertheless, our main girl is taken aback by the name. She recalls one of those sisterly moments when Alice told her about an intriguing bohemian guy named Eddie whom she had met at the village festival. It was clear how smitten Alice was by him, but what concerns Chloe even more is the thought of them seeing each other day after day. She sways, her head pounding hard, but the Duke steadies her and asks how she feels. Once again, she quickly apologizes to him, silencing her inner doubts as she explains the strange appearance of the bohemian Eddie. Finally, she begs Duke Tisse for a moment alone with Alice, and he obliges, leaving the sisters together. As a result of the whole mess, Chloe screams at her younger sister to return to the carriage, which she does like the speed of light. Moving forward, they watch her disappear into the shadows. Duke Tisse then comments on Alice's actions, causing quite a stir yet again, and even makes a joke about her scandalous activities in the midst of high society. Chloe sits in a solemn mood, feeling sorry for her family's name as she begs the Duke to keep quiet about the ugly situation. However, the Duke seizes the chance to taunt her, saying he is more than ready to punish her family for Alice's crime. Chloe knows fully well the fate that will befall her family if she does not persuade him to stay silent. Suddenly, she drops to her knees, her forehead nearly kissing the ground as she takes the blame for her sister's foolish behavior. She pleads with him to punish her instead, but a shocked expression crosses her face when he refuses to oblige while holding her gaze. Breathing heavily, she thinks hard as the ticking clock moves towards sealing the Verdier family's fate. Finally, she speaks up, reminding him of his family's honor and of his wondrous command that led his armies to victory. She also recalls that he was the first to be honored by the royal family for his merit. But then, he encourages her to continue with the praises. Continuing, she reminds him of his comment from years ago about leading his soldiers to victory, and brings back memories of her father's hospitality toward his troops. At this point, he is eye level with her, remarking that her wish for him to repay his debts is tied to his family's honor. Still, she demands a little generosity for her family's services, and he emphasizes that he is doing them a favor by inviting them to an event of such status. He then blames Alice for missing a golden opportunity, and asks what she has to say about it. Without warning, she grabs his leg as he turns to leave, her pleas growing more intense as she offers to do his bidding and remember his kindness forever. But hold up, he suddenly kneels before her, lifting her head to meet his eyes as he questions the reason for her actions and asks where her confidence hides, since her behavior is not like her usual self. His hands trace the outline of her face as he unexpectedly reveals the reason for her pleas. He explains that Alice needs to marry into a wealthy family to turn her family's fortune around. He then asks about her life and wonders if she does not care for it, and she answers plainly that she does not. Yet, she does not stop there. She expresses the happiness she feels when her loved ones are cared for, and the Duke reconfirms her earlier statement that she will do whatever he wishes. Once again, she agrees, and he announces his intent to think about his wish while instructing her to return to the Verdier castle at once. She also reminds him of Johannes's request to be introduced to Alice, little knowing that she has just released the devil with him. He delivers a stern warning, telling her not to behave in ways that attract the attention of any man, including Johannes, and warns of the fate of the Verdier family if she disobeys. Before he leaves, he warns her against entering the garden with strangers, since the garden is meant to satisfy the burning passion of lovers. He even threatens to start scandalous rumors about them if she dares go against his orders, leaving her in misery as her hatred for him grows to a dangerous level. The intensity is rising, and this drama is about to get even hotter. Ready for the next part? Comment Alice below. Remember to like, share and subscribe, and be sure to check the description for more manhwa recommendations. Until next time, ciao.